The first warning came as light across the sky. A strange silver flash that tore through the clouds and turned night into bright morning. People in the small human colony on Arian 4 stopped what they were doing and stared upward. The air shook. A deep sound followed, like 1,000 drums echoing from the heavens. Captain Ryan Veyr felt the vibration under his boots before the alarms began to scream. He was standing near the defense wall when the first impact wave hit. The ground split, dust rising like a storm. "Everyone to shelters," he shouted, but his voice was swallowed by thunder. No one expected war. The humans had come to Arian 4 only to mine its crystals and trade peacefully. But above the planet, an alien fleet appeared. Dark ships shaped like blades cutting through the clouds. They were not here to talk. Ryan ran toward the command center. His earpiece filled with panic. Voices shouting, radar screens failing. "We're under attack," someone yelled. Unknown species, unidentified signals. Inside, lights flickered. The commander, an older woman with tired eyes, met Ryan's gaze. "We can't fight them," she said quietly. "Their tech is beyond ours." Ryan looked at the screen. The alien fleet moved like a storm of knives, each ship glowing with pale energy. They didn't look human, and they didn't fight like humans either. Yet he couldn't understand why. Humans had sent peace signals, not threats. Then the transmission came. A single voice, calm, cold, and female. "This planet belongs to the Veyr. Leave or perish." Ryan froze. The translator struggled to catch up, but he could still feel the meaning in her tone. He answered anyway. "This planet is free. We are not your enemies." There was silence. Then the voice replied, sharper this time. "You already are." The line went dead, and a second later the bombardment began. Explosions tore through the colony. Metal bent, towers fell. Ryan rushed out to pull survivors from debris. Heat waves rolled across the ground. He saw a transport ship rise and then vanish in fire. The humans fought back with plasma cannons, but their shots vanished against invisible shields. In the chaos, Ryan saw something strange in the distance. A small pod falling from the alien flagship. It did not crash like a weapon. It landed smoothly, leaving a crater but no fire. Curiosity cut through fear. He gathered 2 soldiers and moved toward the impact site. Smoke curled upward as they reached it. The pod's door hissed open. Inside was not a soldier but a woman. Her skin shimmered like moonlight. Her armor looked like flowing silver metal. Her eyes glowed faintly blue. She looked wounded. One of Ryan's men raised his weapon, but Ryan stopped him. "Wait," he whispered. "She's not attacking." The alien woman looked at them, confusion flickering in her eyes. Her lips moved, and a soft tone escaped. Too smooth for human ears. Then she spoke again, this time in broken English, her voice trembling. "Help, please." Ryan didn't think. He reached out his hand. "You're safe. We won't hurt you." Behind them, the battle still raged, but in that small circle of quiet, something shifted. Ryan saw fear in her eyes, not hatred, not rage. Real fear. He helped her out of the pod. Her armor was cracked, revealing faint, pulsing light beneath. She looked fragile. Nothing like the soldiers who were killing his people above. "Who are you?" he asked. She hesitated, then said softly, "I am Erin, daughter of Veyr High Council." "They should not have fired. It was not meant." Her voice broke. "They think you are invaders. My father—" He does not listen. Before Ryan could respond, another explosion shook the air. Erin's eyes widened. "They will destroy everything," she whispered. Ryan's radio crackled. "Captain, evacuate!" "They're targeting the command base." He looked at Erin. For a heartbeat, duty and mercy fought inside him. Then he made his choice. "Come with us," he said. "You'll die here." She nodded weakly. Together they ran through smoke and fire, searching for cover as alien drones swept the sky. The humans fired upward. The aliens fired downward. Between them ran 2 people from different worlds who should have been enemies. As they hid inside the ruins of a mining hall, Ryan looked at her again. She was breathing hard, hands glowing faintly as if energy pulsed through her veins. "You saved me," she said softly, almost in disbelief. "No human should." He smiled faintly, even as the walls trembled. "Then maybe you don't know humans very well." Outside, the war thundered on. Inside, 2 lives began to change. One made of fire and duty, the other of fear and wonder. And somewhere above, in the alien command ship, someone realized the princess was missing. The war had only just begun. The ruins of the mining hall were silent except for the distant thunder of explosions. Dust floated through the cracks in the ceiling, and the faint glow from Aaron's armor cast soft blue light across the broken metal floor. Ryan checked his rifle, his heart still pounding. Every few seconds he could feel the tremor of alien bombardment miles away. Erin sat against the wall, clutching her arm. Her armor had sealed most of her wounds, but her breathing was uneven. Ryan crouched beside her. "You need a medic," he said. She shook her head. "Human medicine won't help me, my body heals differently." He nodded slowly. "Then rest. We'll move when it's clear." For a few minutes, neither spoke. The war outside raged like a storm, but here time felt frozen. Ryan looked at her, truly looked, and wondered how something so human could come from a race that just destroyed an entire colony. Her face showed pain, confusion, but also regret. "Why did they attack?" he asked finally. "We came here to trade, not fight." Aaron's gaze dropped. "My father believes humans are dangerous. He thinks your kind grows fast and cannot be trusted. The council warned him, but he never listens." Ryan frowned. "So this is all a mistake?" She hesitated, then nodded. "A mistake built from pride and fear." Before he could reply, his radio crackled again, faint and broken. "Captain Veyr, do you copy? Enemy drones, searching Sector 9. The message faded. Ryan turned the radio off. He didn't want to give away their position. He looked back at Aaron. "We need to move before they scan this area." Aaron stood weakly. "Where will you go?" "To the mountains," he said. "There's an old communications base there. If we reach it, we can call the fleet." She looked toward the burning horizon. "Your fleet will come, and when they do, my people will send more ships. It will never end." Ryan's jaw tightened. "Then we'll end it before they do." As they stepped out of the ruins, the air shimmered with heat and smoke. The sky was filled with red trails of fire. Aaron stumbled once, but Ryan caught her arm. Her skin was cold, almost metallic to the touch. They walked through a destroyed street. Fallen towers leaned against one another like broken bones. The remains of vehicles and machines lay scattered, burning in soft blue flame. Somewhere in the distance, human soldiers fought on, their shouts lost in the chaos. Suddenly, Aaron froze. Her eyes glowed brighter. "They're near," she whispered. Ryan raised his weapon. "Who?" "Veyr scouts. I can feel their signal." Moments later, dark figures appeared through the smoke. Tall, armored, moving like shadows. Alien soldiers. Their weapons hummed with low-energy pulses. Ryan grabbed Aaron's hand. "Run!" They sprinted through the wreckage, weaving between fallen walls. Plasma fire burned the air around them. One shot hit close, sending debris flying. Aaron stumbled again. Ryan turned, firing back. 2 soldiers fell, their armor sparking. He ducked behind a steel beam and reloaded. His hands shook. "You said they were searching for you," he hissed. "Why?" Aaron's voice was tight. "Because I am the heir. If they find me helping you, they will call me a traitor." Ryan fired another burst. "So what do we do?" She looked at him, eyes blazing now with defiance. "We survive." She lifted her hand and light exploded from her palm. A wave of blue energy rippled through the street, knocking the alien soldiers backward. The shockwave rattled windows and shook the ground. Ryan stared, stunned. "You can do that?" She gave a faint, tired smile. "Once, maybe twice more." When the smoke cleared, the enemy was gone. Aaron's legs gave out and Ryan caught her before she fell. Her glow dimmed. "You just saved both of us," he said quietly. Her voice was weak but steady. "You saved me first." They found shelter again in a collapsed tunnel. Ryan set a small camp light and handed her a water pack. She looked at it curiously before sipping. The silence between them was strange, heavy but not uncomfortable. "Back on your world," she asked. "Why did you help me?" He shrugged. "Because you asked. Because you were scared. Doesn't matter if you're alien or human, fear looks the same." Aaron studied him for a long moment. "On my world, kindness is seen as weakness. You risked your life for me, even though I'm your enemy." He looked away. "Maybe that's why we're different." For a while, there was only the sound of distant thunder. Then Aaron spoke again, her voice softer than before. "If my people find us, they will kill you first." Ryan smirked faintly. "Then let's make sure they don't." She almost smiled. And for the first time since the war began, she felt something strange, a warmth that didn't come from light or fire. Outside, the night grew darker, but above the clouds, the stars still burned. Somewhere, a beacon blinked faintly in the distance, a signal of hope, or maybe a warning. And in that moment, as Rian watched over the alien princess he had no reason to trust, he didn't realize that saving her would change everything, not just for them, but for two entire worlds. The war was no longer just between humans and aliens. It had become something far more dangerous here, a battle for understanding. The next morning came with silence. The air was thick and still, filled with the smell of burnt metal and ash. Rian woke first. His uniform was torn, his weapon half dead, and his throat dry from the smoke. Beside him, Erin slept against the wall of the tunnel. Her face was calm now, her breathing soft. The faint blue light that glowed under her skin had dimmed through the night. She looked almost human in the shadows. For a long moment, Rian just watched her. Not with fear, not with suspicion, but with something closer to wonder. He had seen aliens before, but none like her. There was something alive, something fragile about her, hidden beneath all that power. When she finally opened her eyes, the soft glow returned. "You didn't sleep," she said quietly. "Couldn't," Rian replied. "Too much noise in my head." Erin looked away. "Your people are dying because of mine." He didn't answer right away. "And your people are fighting because they don't understand us." She met his eyes. "Maybe they never will." He stood, brushing dust from his armor. "Then we'll make them." They left the tunnel as the sun rose weakly through the smoky sky. In the distance, mountains stood like dark teeth. That was their destination, the old comms base, the only hope left to reach the fleet. Their journey was slow. Every sound in the ruins could be a drone, every shadow a soldier. Rian moved ahead carefully, scanning with his visor, while Erin followed, using faint energy pulses to mask their trail. Hours passed. Once they stopped near a fallen transport ship. Inside, they found food packs and a working scanner. Erin watched curiously as Rian handed her a ration bar. "This is food?" she asked. He smiled faintly. "Human food. Not the best, but it'll keep you alive." She took a bite and frowned. "It tastes like metal," Rian chuckled. "Yeah, but it works." Erin studied him as he laughed. She had never seen a human smile before, not like that. It was strange, almost warm. On her world, soldiers were taught never to show emotion. To laugh in a war zone would be unthinkable. Yet somehow it made her chest feel lighter. When they started walking again, the silence between them wasn't heavy anymore. It was quiet, but not cold. By nightfall, they reached the base of the mountains. The air grew colder, the ground rougher. The communication tower was still far, hidden behind cliffs and forest. As they began climbing, Erin paused suddenly. Her eyes flickered, sensing something. "They're coming," she whispered. Rian looked around. "How many?" "5. Maybe 6 scouts. Veyr soldiers." Rian cursed under his breath. They had followed her signal. "We'll have to fight," she shook her head. "No, fighting will only bring more." He checked his ammo. "Then what do you suggest?" Erin closed her eyes, concentrating. The blue light on her armor brightened. "I can hide us for a short time. My energy can bend light around us, but it will drain me." Rian hesitated. "You sure?" She nodded. "Just stay close." She touched his arm, and suddenly the world around them shimmered. The air warped like water, and they vanished from sight. Rian could still see his own hands faintly like glass. The alien patrol passed nearby, tall, dark, and silent, their armor shining faintly under the moonlight. One of them stopped, scanning the ground. For a moment, Ryan's breath froze. The soldier turned his head toward them, only a few steps away. Then another voice called out, and they moved on. Erin collapsed the second they were gone. The glow from her body faded completely. Rian caught her before she hit the ground. "Hey, stay with me," he whispered. "Come on, Erin." Her voice was weak. "Too much energy, just need time." He carried her behind a rock ledge and laid her down. The wind was cold, biting through his armor. He wrapped his jacket around her, even though she didn't ask. Hours passed in silence. Rian watched the stars appear through the smoke above. Thousands of them, far and unreachable. Somewhere up there, both human and Veyr ships waited, ready to finish what had started. He didn't want that. Not anymore. When Erin finally opened her eyes again, she found Rian still awake. "Why do you care?" she asked softly. "Your people, my people, and we are enemies." He looked at her, tired but sincere. "Because I've seen enough death. I'm not doing this for politics." I'm doing it because someone has to stop this before there's nothing left. Aaron studied him quietly. On my world, strength means dominance, control. But you fight with something else. You fight for people. For hope, Ryan smiled faintly. That's what being human means. Aaron looked at the stars again. Maybe that's what my people forgot. For a while, neither spoke. The night wind carried the distant sound of engines and fire. Ryan knew they would have to move again soon, toward the base, toward the signal, toward whatever came next. But as he looked at Aaron, wrapped in his jacket, her silver hair glowing faintly in the starlight, he realized something had changed. The alien princess was no longer just someone he had saved. She was now someone he needed to protect, not because of duty, but because something deep inside him refused to let her die. And far above, in the Veyr flagship, orders were given. The princess was alive. The humans had her, and her father had just declared total war. The wind grew colder as Ryan and Aaron climbed higher into the mountains. Every breath came with a sharp sting, and the ground cracked beneath their boots. Far below, the sky glowed with fire from the battle still raging across the planet. The old communication base was close now, a small cluster of towers hidden among rocks and snow. The path was steep, but Ryan pushed on, guiding Aaron with one hand as she stumbled beside him. When they reached the metal door, Ryan keyed in the old military code. To his surprise, it still worked. The lock light turned green and the door slid open with a hiss. Inside, the air was dry and cold. Dust floated in the weak light. Broken monitors flickered with static. It looked abandoned but not dead. Somewhere deeper inside, faint power still hummed. Ryan turned to Aaron. We can use the long-range array here. If I fix the system, we can contact the fleet. Aaron nodded, but her face showed worry. When you call your fleet, they will come with weapons. My people will answer. This world will burn, he met her eyes. Then maybe it's time someone stopped the fire before it reaches the stars. He set to work, repairing the control board with what little he had. Sparks jumped as he rewired old circuits. Aaron walked slowly around the room, touching the broken machines with curiosity. I've never seen human tech this close, she said softly. It's simple, yet full of heart. Like you, Ryan smiled faintly. That's one way to put it. For the first time since the invasion began, the base felt calm. But the calm didn't last. Outside, the snow began to move, not from wind, but from shadows. Dark shapes crawled across the ridge, silent and fast. Veyr scouts had found their trail. Aaron felt it first. Her eyes glowed suddenly. They're here. Ryan looked up from the console. How many? Too many, she whispered. At least 10. He grabbed his rifle and moved toward the door. I'll hold them off. You finish this, she caught his arm. You can't fight them all. He gave a tired grin. Watch me. The first explosion hit moments later. The door bent inward and fire spilled into the room. Ryan fired through the smoke, hitting 2 soldiers before rolling behind a console. Plasma bolts cracked against the walls. The base shook under the assault. Aaron focused, summoning energy from within. Blue light surrounded her hands, forming a barrier that blocked part of the attack. The air hummed with power. Go! Ryan shouted. I'll cover you! But Aaron didn't move. She raised both arms, sending a pulse of blue energy that burst through the doorway like a wave. The Veyr soldiers were thrown back into the snow. For a moment, everything was quiet again. Ryan ran to her side. You did it! She was trembling. I can't keep doing this. It drains me. He supported her, helping her to sit. Rest, I'll finish the signal. He worked quickly, connecting the antenna to the power core. The screen flickered and came alive with static. Then a human voice. This is Fleet Command. Identify. This is Captain Ryan Vale, he said urgently. We've been attacked by the Veyr. Civilian losses heavy. Requesting immediate evac. There was a pause. Then copy that, Captain. Evac en route. Hold position. Ryan sighed in relief. We made it, but Aaron didn't smile. Her gaze was fixed on the horizon outside the cracked window. No, she whispered. You've doomed us both. He followed her eyes and saw it. Above the clouds, a massive shadow moved. The Veyr flagship. Her father's ship. Your father's here? Ryan asked. Aaron nodded slowly. He came for me. He won't leave until I'm taken back. Or dead. Before Ryan could reply, a new sound filled the air, engines coming fast. Human evac dropships appeared over the ridge. At first, Ryan felt relief, But then he saw the human soldiers pointing weapons at both of them. "Captain Veyr," the commander shouted through a loudspeaker. "Step away from the alien." Ryan froze. "She's not our enemy." But they didn't listen. "Orders from High Command," the commander said coldly. "The alien is a war criminal. Stand down." Erin looked at him, fear in her glowing eyes. "They will kill me." Ryan clenched his jaw. "Not while I'm breathing." The soldiers advanced. The wind howled around them. Erin raised a weak hand, ready to defend herself, but Ryan stepped in front of her. "She's under my protection," he said firmly. "If you want her, you'll have to shoot through me." The soldiers hesitated. No one moved. Then the sky erupted. The Veyr flagship opened fire and the mountain shook under a blast of blue energy. Both human and alien forces scattered in chaos. The ground split open and the base began to crumble. Ryan grabbed Erin's hand. "Move!" They ran as the world collapsed behind them. The mountains glowed with explosions. Smoke swallowed the stars. By the time they reached the edge of the ridge, half the base was gone and both armies were in confusion. Ships fell from the sky like burning comets. Erin looked back, her face pale and full of sorrow. "He's here for me. My father will not stop until I return." Ryan's grip tightened on her hand. "Then we make sure he can't find you." Behind them, two worlds were tearing each other apart. Ahead, only darkness waited, but Ryan didn't slow down. For the first time in her life, Erin followed someone not out of duty or command, but because she trusted him. And somewhere, far above, her father watched the battlefield from his throne of cold metal and whispered, "Find my daughter, and kill the human who took her." The night was darker than ever. The fire from the burning mountains painted the sky in red and orange. The ground shook every few minutes as ships crashed far away. Ryan and Erin ran until their legs felt heavy as stone. When they finally stopped, they found shelter beneath a half-collapsed bridge over a frozen river. Both were breathing hard. Ryan's uniform was torn again, and his face was covered in soot. Erin's silver armor had lost its glow, cracked and dull. She looked weak but still calm, like someone who had accepted her fate. Ryan crouched beside her. "You all right?" She nodded faintly.
"Yes, just tired."
"Too much power used." He looked toward the sky. The human ships and alien cruisers still fought above the clouds. The explosions were smaller now, but constant. "They're destroying each other," he said quietly. "And for what?" Erin's voice was soft. "For pride, for fear, for control. My father never saw your people as equals. He believes strength is shown through domination." Ryan looked at her, eyes burning with anger and sorrow. "Then he's wrong." She turned her face toward him. "And what do your people believe?" He smiled faintly. "That strength isn't just power. It's standing when everyone else falls. It's protecting someone even when you know it might cost everything." Erin stared at him for a long time as if she were hearing those words for the first time in her life. "That is why you are different," she whispered. For a while they sat in silence, listening to the distant sounds of war. Then slowly Erin removed a small crystal from her armor. It pulsed with soft light. "What is that?" Ryan asked. "It's a memory core," she said. "It records everything I see, hear, and feel. It's used by the Royal Council to review actions." Ryan frowned. "So they can see everything that's happened since you landed?" She nodded. "Yes, if this falls into their hands, they will know I've helped you. They will call me a traitor." He looked at her seriously. "Then we destroy it." She held it tightly, shaking her head. "No, it also holds proof that you tried to make peace. If I can show that to my people, maybe the war can end." Ryan hesitated, then nodded. "Then we protect it." Suddenly the ground shook again. A low hum filled the air, a sound deeper than thunder. Erin's eyes widened. "That's not from ships. It's coming from below." They ran out from under the bridge, and what they saw froze them in place. The ice on the river cracked open, and from beneath rose a massive machine, black and silver, glowing with the blue light of Veyr technology. Ryan's eyes widened. "What is that?" Erin's voice trembled. "It's one of the old war engines. My father must have awakened it. They were banned centuries ago. The machine stood taller than any building, its body like a moving fortress. Its steps made the ground quake. It was moving toward the human defense line." Ryan clenched his fists. "If that thing reaches the fleet, it's over." Erin looked at him with desperation. "We can stop it." But only from inside. He turned to her. "You're serious?" She nodded. "There's a control core inside the engine. I can reach it through the maintenance tunnels under the hull. But I'll need you to get me close. He gave a small laugh. You know, I'm starting to think you enjoy near-death plans. She smiled weakly. Only with you. They moved quickly through the frozen valley, keeping low to the ground. The giant war engine glowed brighter as it powered up, its cannons heating with deadly blue fire. Around it marched Veyr soldiers protecting their ancient weapon. Rian and Aaron crept through the shadows. Each step had to be silent, each breath held. When they reached a pile of broken rocks near the base of the machine, Ryan took aim with his rifle and whispered, I'll draw their attention. You find a way inside. She grabbed his hand suddenly. Ryan, if we fail, it's not your fault. He looked at her, his voice quiet but steady. Then we won't fail. She held his gaze for a heartbeat longer, then nodded and slipped away into the shadows. Rian waited until she was halfway up the machine, then opened fire. His shots echoed through the valley, drawing the soldiers toward him. Plasma bolts lit up the night. He rolled behind cover, firing again and again, buying her every second he could. Aaron reached a narrow hatch near the leg joint. Her fingers glowed as she activated the code lock. The metal door slid open with a hiss and she climbed inside the machine. Inside, it was a maze of energy tubes and glowing cores. The hum of power was almost deafening. She moved fast, following the pulse of the main conduit. Outside, Ryan ran out of ammo. He threw the empty rifle aside and picked up a fallen plasma gun from a dead Veyr soldier. His arms shook from exhaustion, but he kept fighting. Then through his earpiece, he heard Aaron's voice, faint and strained. I'm inside. I can see the core. But there's a problem. It's unstable. If I destroy it, it will explode. How big? He asked, ducking behind a rock. Big enough to wipe out this valley? Rian froze. Then we'll both die. She was quiet for a long moment. If I don't do this, both our people will die anyway. He shouted into the comm, Aaron, don't. But she didn't answer. The signal cut out. The giant machine began to glow brighter, too bright to look at. The blue light turned white and the air trembled like it was about to tear apart. Ryan stared at the machine, his chest heavy with fear. Aaron, he whispered. He started running toward it. And above, the alien flagship changed course, moving fast, as if it knew what she was about to do. The ground shook like the world itself was alive. The ancient war engine roared, glowing brighter with every second. The white light from its core burned through the clouds, turning night into false daylight. Rian ran toward it, ignoring the explosions around him. His lungs burned, his vision blurred, but he didn't stop. Above him, human and Veyr ships fought across the sky, and yet all he could think of was her. Aaron. He shouted through the comm, his voice breaking. Do you hear me? Static answered him. Then a soft voice came through, weak and fading. Ryan! You shouldn't be here. He almost laughed through his exhaustion. You should know by now that I don't listen to orders. Inside the machine, Aaron stood before the glowing core. Energy pulsed through the room like lightning trapped in a cage. Her armor was cracked, her skin glowing with streaks of blue light. She could feel the heat of the weapon reaching its final phase. Her father's voice echoed faintly through the comm systems. Aaron, stop this madness. Return to the ship. She stared at the glowing core. Father, if you could see what I've seen, if you could see them, you would understand. Humanity is not your enemy. You are blind. His voice thundered. They are animals. They destroy what they touch. Aaron shook her head, tears mixing with light on her cheeks. No, they protect what they love, even those who aren't their own. Outside, Ryan reached the machine's base. He climbed the metal leg, gripping wires and plates, ignoring the heat burning through his gloves. Every step felt heavier, but he kept climbing. He reached the hatch and pulled himself inside. The corridors glowed with pulsing energy, and the sound of the engine core was deafening. He followed the sound until he saw her, standing in front of a blinding sphere of white light. Aaron, he called out. She turned, her face full of shock and pain. Ryan, you shouldn't have come. He walked toward her, fighting against the energy pushing him back. You think I'm going to let you die alone? Her voice trembled. If I shut this down, it will explode. It's the only way to stop it from destroying everything. He shook his head. There has to be another way. There isn't, she whispered. But I'm not afraid anymore. He stepped closer, placing a hand on her shoulder. Then let me do it. She looked at him, eyes wide. No, it would kill you. He smiled faintly. Then we'll die together. Tears fell from her glowing eyes. Why? Why would you do this for me? Because humanity isn't about blood or planets, he said softly. It's about choice. And I choose you. Erin's hands trembled. She wanted to stop him, but her strength was gone. Together they reached for the control core. The light was too bright, the energy too wild. It felt like touching a star. Erin looked into his eyes one last time. Ryan, if there is another life, I hope I find you first. He nodded, his voice breaking. You will. And then they pressed their hands together on the control panel. The machine screamed as the energy reversed. The light spread outward, turning blue, then gold, then white. The explosion was silent, a flash that filled the sky and erased all sound. Every ship in orbit stopped fighting. The human fleet and the Veyr flagship both saw it. A great burst of light that spread across the battlefield and then faded into silence. When the light cleared, the war engine was gone. The battlefield was still. The storm had ended. On the Veyr flagship, silence filled the command deck. The Emperor, Erin's father, stared at the view screen. The weapon, he whispered. It's gone, one of his generals spoke quietly. The human soldier and the princess. Both were inside, my lord. The Emperor said nothing for a long time. Then he stood and looked out into the empty sky. For the first time in his life, his voice broke. My daughter saw something I could not. He gave a final command. Cease fire. The war ended that day. Not because of victory, but because of understanding. Weeks later, human ships returned to the mountains. They found the battlefield covered in melted snow and glass. At the center, two figures were frozen in crystal. A man and a woman holding each other's hands, their faces peaceful. The scientists called it a miracle. The soldiers called it tragedy. But those who saw it with their own eyes called it something else. Hope. They built a monument there at the place where the war ended. Two statues, one human, one alien, standing side by side, reaching toward the stars. Years later, stories spread across the galaxy. They said a human soldier gave his life for an alien princess, and that her light ended the war between their worlds. Some said they still appear as two stars in the night sky, close together, forever shining side by side. And those who looked up would remember the words the princess once said. Humanity's strength is not in power or war. It is in the heart that chooses peace even when surrounded by fire.